much since after the Royal Rumble. That is 5 straight months of bad Raws, monotonous, boring, uncreative booking, bad matches, the same matches over and over again, bad backstage segments, bad in-ring promos, no hype, no intrigue. Why do you think that you started off with 6 million global views and now you're struggling to get 2.8 million? It's not like that. What do you think this is? You think people are tuning out because the show is good? Of course they're not tuning out because it's good. They're tuning out because it sucks. There is zero effort, there's no star power, and nothing on these Raws matters. Name me a couple meaningful and actual impactful segments that have happened on Raw this year that don't involve either John Cena, The Rock, or Roman Reigns. You will not be able to find anything. You'll be able to find literally nothing at this point. There's nothing to look at. Because we know that usually Cena, Roman, and Rock, they're going to have meaningful segments anytime that they show up most of the time. So we have to count the stuff that doesn't include them because they're surefire going to give us something. Outside of that, what has anyone else contributed? Nothing. And we see that with Rollins' opening promo, because we're just going to jump into this. This was so garbage. We're just going to jump into this. Rollins comes out and does the same thing he's been doing since WrestleMania 41. Actually, it's been going on for longer than that. Rollins has been cutting the same promo for like over a year at this point. It's the same thing. He brings up CM Punk. He brings up Roman Reigns. Mind you, he hasn't had an interaction with CM Punk in weeks. He hasn't interacted with Roman Reigns since the Raw after WrestleMania, and we're still talking about these guys during his promo. That lets you know how stagnant this dude is on the mic. Nothing is changing. Nothing is developing. Nothing about this faction is getting over. The crowd doesn't know whether to boo or whether to cheer. They don't know whether they're bored or not bored. They don't know whether it's interesting or not. And the reason why is because this booking sucks. What kind of heel comes out? Because that's what Rollins and Heyman and these dudes are supposed to be. Paul Heyman is absolutely a joke at this point, by the way. Same with Braun and Brunson. But the point is, Paul Heyman comes out. He doesn't even speak. He doesn't even speak anymore. What does Paul Heyman contribute? Please, can someone answer that question? What is he contributing anymore? Nothing, man. Seth Rollins comes out, and he is a full-blown heel, allegedly, asking for a pop. He asks the crowd to sing his music. He motions to them with his hands. He's like, sing my music. He's expecting them to sing his music. He's expecting them to say his name, Seth freaking Rollins. Call him a visionary. Say it's Monday Night Rollins. What is this? Are you a heel or a face? The booking is just atrocious. This is exactly why you never, ever let Seth Rollins be the number one guy on your show. Because if you do that, this is what you're going to get. Declining viewership and bad storylines that don't feel like main event level stories, okay? Seth Rollins acts the same way as a face that he does now as a heel. And he basically starts off the promo saying, you guys are sending me mixed signals because I'm a visionary of revolution. He asks the fans, what do you want? He says the fans are giving him mixed signals. They don't know what they want. They're confused. The one moment they're chanting for CM Punk, then they're chanting for Roman Reigns, and they're chanting for him. It's because the fans are bots. They're bots. They do whatever they're told. They're absolute sheeps at this point. Whatever they're motioned to do by the wrestler, they're going to do it. It's embarrassing at this point, man. This faction is garbage. It is garbage, man. These fans are absolute. They're just go with whatever they're doing. Cody Rhodes, we are bots. You know the chant. You know what this is. So it is what it is. Rollins then asks the fans, he's like, what do you guys want? And I'm like, I want this faction to end. Can we get that? But anyways, Rollins continues to keep on speaking. He then basically says that, the fans don't know what's good for them. And he says that he put Roman on the map. He put Punk on the map. And the only reason Punk came back is because of how much Rollins hated CM Punk. So they brought him back because of that. Obviously, that's not true. On top of that, he also says that he brought Cody Rhodes up to prominence and he put Cody Rhodes on the map. Listen, I haven't seen the final 40 minutes of Raw. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that in the final match after Jey Uso loses to Cody Rhodes in that match, which he's going to, they're probably going to have Rollins and his faction get involved. What is that going to improve? What is it going to do? It's not going to do anything. This faction does not do anything, man. They sit there and look stupid. Braun Breaker goes out and barks like a bot. His career is done, which we're going to talk about Braun Breaker in a second, man. His career is obviously not done, you know what I mean? But you get what I'm saying. His idea of being a superstar and the next superstar of the generation is just dead. That's not even an option anymore. If you think this dude is going to be the next Roman or the next Cena or the next Orton or the next whoever the heck you want to insert in there, he's not going to do that, and everyone should know that by now. Anyways, he says that he's the reason for Roman, Punk, and Cody being put on the map and then becoming prominent in WWE. And he's like, I built these guys. Okay, so if you built these guys and they're on the map, why are you not on the map, Seth? Well, why are you not on the map? Why are you playing second fiddle to all of these people? You're not bigger than Cody Rhodes in the current landscape of WWE. You're not bigger than CM Punk. You're definitely not bigger than Roman Reigns. You're not bigger than The Rock. You're not bigger than Cena. So what exactly are you talking about? It just becomes nonsensical at this point, man. It's a problem I have as well with Gunther's promo later in the night, which we're going to talk about Gunther, the ring jobber, Gunther. We're going to talk about him a little bit later, but that's not the point. Seth Rollins basically says he is the past, the present, and the future, and he basically says that the finish line is him cashing in his Money in the Bank and taking back his championship. Taking back a title. Yeah. Gosh, man. This promo was so boring, it delivered nothing. I am so tired of Seth Rollins peddling this narrative that because he shows up every week, by the way, he's doing nothing when he shows up most of the time, but anyways, he said he tries to make this thing seem like, because he shows up every week, that everything Punk and Roman do is like just irrelevant at this point. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? Roman Reigns has been the top draw in the company for 5+ years at this point. He was the main champ for 4 out of those 5 years. He's the best storyteller. He has the biggest and best matches, on PLE stages and stuff like that for 5 years straight. He carries the company. He's the lead guys, selling most of the merchandise, before like guys like Punk and Cena got back in the mix, etc. It's not close. Roman Reigns knows what it's like to be the number one superstar in the company and to carry it on his back while Rollins was doing Monday Night Messiah, while Rollins was jobbing out to Logan Paul at WrestleMania. He obviously won the match, but you're fighting a jobber at that time in Logan Paul. You're fighting Austin Theory for U.S. titles. I mean, this is a joke. You understand that? We have to stop this narrative that Rollins is anywhere remotely close to either of these dudes. Yes, Rollins is maybe a better in-ring performer than Punk and Roman Reigns. I understand that argument. But anything else, any other metric of being a great entertainer and great performer, having charisma, having promo work, having stories to tell, having memorable moments, it's not close between him and Punk or Roman. So it's like, stop. Roman and Punk are above this guy. I'm sorry to say it. I like Rollins, but come on now. Stop the nonsense. Anyways, we then move on from this and we get Braun Breaker versus Penta. This basically becomes the final straw in Penta's run. Penta is a jobber. We have to understand these things and act accordingly. This guy does not deliver anything anymore. I mean, he never really was to begin with, but the fact is that fans let people get over now because, he put on a good wrestling match, man. He put on a good wrestling match. You can find good wrestling on like 50 different types of companies at this point. Do you understand that? Nobody cares if you can put on a good wrestling match. Tell me a story. Cut me a good promo. Have an engaging feud or an engaging story to tell. Stop going out there and just having this dude had a good match. I don't give a crap if you have a good match. You know how many wrestlers you can find backstage that can put on good matches? Come on, man. That's not enough anymore. Penta is clearly struggling in this match. I think he got injured at one point. He hurt his leg or something like that. He looked very slow. He looked kind of out of shape in this match. It was very slow. He was like walking through this match. It was very odd and it just wasn't entertaining at all. Braun Botcher, which I'm going to start calling him. Braun Botcher is just a botch machine. He wrestles very sloppily. His strikes and his stomps and his punches look very fake and they're not very, fluid at all. I can't tell you the last time Braun Breaker's cut a promo, and a good promo even at that. He hasn't done anything on the mic, really. He hasn't told any stories. He hasn't had any good feuds that have lasted longer than a month or two. I don't know what this dude is contributing. I genuinely am not. I don't understand this. Why would you put him in this faction? He has to be saddled down now as one of the, the younger people they're trying to position as one of the top stars of the next generation, and Braun Breaker is sitting down being a mindless hive mind bot jobber under Seth Rollins' rule. How do you have 2 Intercontinental Championship reigns, and you mean to tell me that Braun Breaker goes from that to inexplicably being Seth Rollins' lackey? Bronson Reed fighting for the IC title last year, now he's okay after feuding with Seth Rollins the last time we saw him. Now he's back, and all of a sudden he's working alongside Seth Rollins with no explanation. No explanation for Braun Breaker joining this faction either, and there's no real explanation for Rollins being chosen by Paul Heyman. Why would Heyman not just choose John Cena or choose Jey Uso, who was actually the world champion at the time? There's no reasoning for any of this stuff, but we're supposed to sit back and be like, who's the 4th member? Who's excited for the 4th member, man? Who wants to see Ricky Starks? Ethan Page, man, stop. This is a jobber faction, and you know it. Anyways, this Braun Breaker versus Penta match was full of botches. It was boring. It was uninteresting. And quite frankly, the ending was a botched ending. Braun Breaker hits a spear and completely spikes his head on the ring mat because he botched it and missed his timing, I guess it was. But he ends up winning the match. He took a Penta driver and kicked out. Nobody cares. After this, Seth Rollins goes up to Penta and tells him, hey, man, watch out. Stay out of our way. Let's just move on. I have nothing to say about this. This is just so stupid, man. Nothing Nothing is being developed on any of these shows. That is the biggest issue. Nothing that Seth Rollins has done from the end of WrestleMania to now has developed at all. What has changed? He has a briefcase. Congratulations. What else has changed? What has elevated or developed about Bronson Reed or Braun Breaker or Seth Rollins in the last 3 months? Thank you. Now let's move on. Now we get to the card of Night of Champions. AJ Styles versus Dominic Mysterio has officially been canceled off the card. So now your Night of Champions card, as of the making of this video, has what, 4 matches? You have you're gonna have Cena Punk, Jade versus Asuka, which is gonna be a botch fest. We'll talk about that in a second. We're also gonna have Cody Rhodes probably versus Randy Orton, and then you're going to have Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu. You're going to have 4 matches on this Night of Champions card. Just think about that for a second. 4 matches on a premium live event. Do you know how disrespectful it is to your fan base that watches week in and week out just to follow up and get 4 matches every 3 or 4 weeks on a premium live event? Oh man, what an embarrassment. Then we get Goldberg. Goldberg comes out and he's in a little interview segment with Michael Cole. Remember, this guy's career is literally going to end in 2 or 3 weeks' time, and he's not even showing up on Raw tonight. He's showing up in an interview segment with Michael Cole. Really? Michelle Cole. That's what we're getting. We're like, the dude, stop. This is embarrassing at this point, man. Goldberg talks about the lack of respect that Gunther has for him. He says Gunther didn't respect me at Bad Blood in front of my family. Because of that lack of respect, I'm going to F Gunther up at Saturday Night's Main Event because I respect you, Gunther. I love you, Gunther. I need you, Gunther. Like, what is everything about respect and love? Everything is about love. I care for you. I appreciate you. I respect you. I need you. I love you. Like, what are we doing? When are there ever going to be a legitimate feud with a face and a heel? The heel is super hated and the face is super beloved. They fight for the World Heavyweight Championship in a big fight-filled match that's entertaining, engaging, and has a great story leading into an actual really good match at whatever the show that it happens on. When are we going to get that ever again? I'm genuinely waiting for it. We have not had what I just talked about. We have not had that since Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes at Mania 40. Genuinely. It has not happened. We have not had a face that everyone wanted to lose, or that most people wanted to. Well, I don't even know, man. That was a really divisive match. But you get the point. You had a full-blown heel that was doing great heel work and actually was treated as a heel by the company, by the booking, and actually by what the heel was doing, what Roman was doing leading up to Mania 40 and leading up to the whole entire 4-year championship reign that he had. And you had Cody Rhodes, the big baby face that everyone wanted to finish his story and do all that stuff. And you had to build up. The Rock was a massive heel who actually was hated leading up to that Mania 40 build. You know, you hated it, but you loved it. You hate it, you love it, you like it, you don't like it. The Rock is the guy. You know what I'm saying? The Rock is that dude. But at the end of the day, this stuff that we get now, we have no legitimate faces, no legitimate heels. Well, you do have legitimate faces. You just have no legitimate heel threats that actually are believable and that actually have heel heat, you know? It's like, when is that ever going to come back? I just don't know, man. We're getting 58-year-old Gunther or Goldberg going out there and wrestling against Gunther for a world title that's meaningless. But anyways, it is what it is, man. Then we get to Roxanne Perez versus Jade Cargill in a absolute botch extravaganza. This match was full of messy botches. Nothing to really talk about here, quite frankly. Obviously, Roxanne Perez loses this match. There were multiple just terrible and just very patchy and messy moments in this wrestling match, man. It's like Roxanne and Jade just like have no idea what they're doing out there. But as I covered last week in that video about Rollins exposing WWE for the fraudulence that it's doing right now in triple fraud, the fact is, at the end of the day, WWE wrestlers, Seth Rollins said it himself, don't get mad at me, get mad at whoever the heck is choosing, you know, TKO, Triple H, whoever's choosing to shorten the live events because they can't sell out because no one cares anymore. Anyways, don't get mad at me. The point is this is a full-blown fact what I'm about to say. WWE wrestlers wrestle barely any live events. They get guaranteed contracts. Therefore, they have less incentive to actually practice their wrestling moves, practice matches with their opponent, get used to having chemistry with who they're wrestling with, get used to fighting that same opponent on live events over and over again, so that way when we would get the TV match of the same two opponents, it would be amazing. But you don't get that anymore. You get no effort, you get botches, you get messiness, you get sloppy endings, sloppy movesets, unsure moves from the opponents. They don't even trust who they're wrestling with or working with. It is an embarrassment. This is not acceptable content. And I'm going to let you know right now, this episode of Raw I started after I shut it off after I finished it. I was low-key gonna call it a 2 out of 10. I'm gonna have to probably put this at a 0. Unless the stuff that I missed, which I'll catch up on and review later, unless that's great, this is probably gonna get a 0 out of 10 just because of the lack of care and lack of effort. After Roxanne loses this match, Jade Cargill basically looks at Asuka up on the ramp and that's it. Nobody cares. Gunther then comes out and he actually cuts an okay promo, but it's actually a bad promo now that I think about it, because genuinely, it's a promo on Goldberg. Goldberg is the most low-hanging fruit to make fun of, like, ever in wrestling. You know, he botches moves, he gets people injured, he's 58 years old, by the way, and on top of that, we know he's not going to win the match. So, like, they gave Gunther some low-hanging fruit to cut an okay promo on to make him look good. We're not going to get fooled by this garbage. Anybody that you know who can't even cut promos could probably cut a decent promo on Goldberg because he's old, he's washed, he botches, he has no idea what he's doing anymore, he's on one knee at this point. Like, what is there not to make fun of at this point, you know? And Gunther basically says the legend of Goldberg is going to die. The legend of Goldberg is already partially dead amongst a lot of the fan base who doesn't like seeing this dude wrestle. You know, they don't like it anymore. They're tired of him botching. They don't want to see him anymore after what Vince booked him like in the 2010s. They're done with this guy. And you know what? It is what it is. But the point is, this promo was boring and it's not believable. Gunther is not a believable heel. Why? Because he tapped out to Jey Uso in 5 seconds at WrestleMania for the world title. So until I see Gunther beat a legitimate, credible opponent, not Patrick McAfee or Jathan Uso, like until I see him actually beat someone who actually matters in an actual clean way, maybe once that happens, I'll finally believe that this dude is a credible threat. But until then, none of this stuff is believable. He basically says he's going to end his legacy and make sure Goldberg's legacy dies, and says that he was embarrassed to even be in Goldberg's presence last week, yada, yada, yada. He says he's the best wrestler on the planet, and again, none of this is believable because Gunther was just world champion, had an awful reign, and wrestled 7 title defenses in 260 days. Can you please explain to me how you are the ring general? The last time Gunther had a great match was at SummerSlam, in my opinion, last year versus Damian Priest. So it's been going on 11 to 12 months dang near at this point. Dang near a year since Gunther has had a genuinely great match, but yet he's calling himself the best wrestler of this generation. Do you see what I'm saying? None of this stuff is believable. This is not a good promo. This is stupid, it's boring, and it's absolutely useless. We then get Karrion Kross backstage. He's going to fight Sami Zayn. Does anyone care about this? No. Let's move on. We then get a little snippet of of Cody Rhodes doing a podcast with Kevin Owens, the same dude he was just fighting at the Royal Rumble, and 5 months ago, he slammed Kevin Owens' neck through a ladder, dang near broke Kevin Owens' head, you know? He basically, that same person, they're now doing podcasts together. This is why kayfabe, and listen, I don't really care a lot about kayfabe necessarily, but stuff like this is just blatantly ridiculous. You cannot be on a podcast with the same dude you just slammed through a ladder 5 months ago. We just know that this stuff is all a work and it's all fake and all bad. This is poorly executed, man. You see, like, it's just like how The Rock was drinking libations with Cody at Raw after Netflix. It's like, what are you doing? You were just beating and blooding this dude outside of outside of the arena like 8 months ago. But you know, at the time of Raw Netflix, it was like 8-9 months before that happened. And now you're drinking libations with this dude. You know, Cody slams this guy's head through a ladder, and now all of a sudden, Cody Rhodes is drinking libations with Kevin Owens on his libation bus. Like, I don't even, what is happening to this program, this company, this show, man? It is so dreadful. We then get Becky Lynch versus, versus Bayley for the IC title. I would talk about this match normally, but I am infuriated at the fact that you know